as a potential overall rookie candidate with guys like Jeff Skinner. I mean, he's amazing.
Absolutely. He's still young. How do you see him developing in years to come?
I think once we get our guys back, Crosby, Malkin, and pair him with the experienced guys that we already have, like Orpik and Kovalev, you're going to see Letestu gaining a lot of skills, a lot of experience. He's already going to be going to the playoffs in his first year. I mean, that's invaluable for his career.
Absolutely. And certainly he's made a name for himself in Pittsburgh and really become a fan favorite this year. Third period, some fast-paced neutral zone play to begin. Early in the period, Matt Niskanen would be penalized for slashing. And a big question mark in the Penguins' playoff run will be that third-line defense, especially when talking about Matt Niskanen, Ben Lovejoy, and Derek Englund. Each player has, their ups and downs. But ultimately, who do you expect to see come Game 1 on this third line?
I expect to see probably it'll be a combination of some of the guys. I think maybe Bilesma will probably make it up on the fly. I mean, I expect to see a lot of Biles magic going into the playoffs, so I'm not exactly sure who we'll see on the second or third lines.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what the Penguins and Dan Biles might decide to do. At 12-14, the young guy back on the ice, Eric Tangradi, would be penalized for tripping, and it would ultimately cost the Penguins at 13-15. Tim Stapleton would score on the power play and cut the Thrasher deficit to 2. And then at 2:14, the Thrashers pull their goalie, and Mike Comrie into the empty net would score his first goal as a Penguin after sitting out almost the whole year with that hip surgery. And how special at the last game of the regular season to get the very last goal as his first. And so the game would end. The final game of the regular season, the final score would be 4-2, Pittsburgh Penguins victory. So the Penguins finish off with a final record of 42, 25, and 8, finished with 106 points, the second highest total in Pittsburgh Penguins history, behind that 92-93 season in which the Penguins earned 119 points and won the President's Trophy. The Pittsburgh Penguins will move on to the Stanley Cup playoffs to take on Steven Stamkos and the Tampa Bay Lightning in that first-round series. All right, folks, we're going to take our first intermission here. When we come back, we'll break down the upcoming meeting between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Stay tuned. Welcome back, folks. Well, the regular season is over, and it's time for the Pittsburgh Penguins to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a sort of new rivalry here. Pittsburgh, of course, just 1 year removed from their Stanley Cup championship in 2009. Tampa Bay won it in 2004, and, of course, the Penguins will have that home ice advantage. With these two teams, there's been so much talk, it's almost hard to know where to begin. Of course, Crosby and Malkin won't be an immediate factor in this series, but the Penguins still have a lot of firepower. Partner, where do we begin here? What do the Penguins need to do to slow down the offensive firepower of Steven Stamkos and Martin St. Louis?
Well, first of all, you work on getting your penalty kill unit plenty of experience, plenty of ice time against their big guys. So you might even actually start off with a more defensive style line or a penalty killer type line against their big guns to try and stifle them, to keep their momentum away from them, to keep the puck in their zone. So zone control is especially going to be important in this kind of matchup because it's going to go end to end. I mean, it's going to be an end-to-end, fast-paced hockey game.
Absolutely. Partner, it seems that one of the biggest issues that needed to be addressed for the Penguins going into the series was their struggling power play unit, but I think we've seen it improve in the last few games. Dan Bilesma said they've made some fundamental structure changes to the power play unit. Do you expect the power play to continue to improve throughout the playoffs?
I think it's going to keep getting better and better, especially because we have clutch guys that are actually, they play better under that kind of pressure. So I think the fact that it is a playoff situation improves the whole and the core of our team in general when it comes to power play or anything else.
Absolutely. Tampa Bay has the second most power play goals scored in the NHL, and of course the Pittsburgh Penguins with that top penalty kill in all of hockey. How big of a factor will special teams be in this series if defense neutralizes an offense or vice versa?
Well, in an end-to-end hockey game and a game with a very high pace, it's going to be critical. So we're going to need to have our special teams absolutely on top of their game.
Absolutely. And Pittsburgh, of course, has that home ice advantage but they've also been excellent on the road this year, fourth most road wins in the NHL. How big of an advantage is that for the Penguins to be able to play in their element on the road as well as at home?
Well, if you look at the '09 Penguins, their ability to win those road playoff games and road games in general was one of the reasons that they won the Stanley Cup. So I think that's also very important.
Absolutely, and winning that Game 7 in Detroit when they won the Stanley Cup was almost thought to be impossible, beating the Red Wings in the Joe Louis Arena, but they overcame and persevered. They've always been a team that still plays in their element, whether in or out of their home building. All right, partner, it's time. What's your pick in this series, and how many games and why?
You got to look. I think you're going to see either 5 or 6, and it's probably going to be the Pens. And that's not just me saying, I think the Pens are going to win because they're the Pens. I think they have a definite odds-on chance to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in this series.
Absolutely. You heard it here, folks. I think I'll go Penguins in 5 or 6 as well. I think it's going to be a hard-fought series, but ultimately I think that the defensive depth, and power and the great system of Dan Bilesma will prove to be ultimately too much for the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, folks, we're going to take a short intermission. When we return, we're going to have the latest on Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Stay tuned. We've got more rolling your way on the Iceberg. Welcome back. Pittsburgh Penguins head coach Dan Bilesma says he doesn't expect Sidney Crosby to be ready to play anywhere in the immediate future, which really could mean a number of things. Could mean this upcoming series with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It could mean for the rest of the season, but nonetheless, he continues to work through the steps in his progression. He continues to work out on and off the ice, and of course, still participating in those morning skates. On Friday, he participated in a full non-contact practice, which of course was the next big step in the progression. Still no timetable. And then again today, he was in practice without the no-contact jersey, but Coach Dan Bilesma later confirmed that he still is not cleared for contact. Partner, do you think there will ever be a definitive timetable for his return, or do you think this is going to be one of those situations where out of the blue they just say, well, he's cleared, and he steps onto the ice?
I think your guess is as good as mine, and it's probably going to be the latter, where he just kind of shows up and he's ready, and everyone else realizes he's ready. We've heard so much mixed information from different sources about Sidney Crosby. Is he ready? Is he not ready? To the point where now I don't think anyone has a really good idea of if he will or when he'll be back or what's actually going on with it.
Absolutely. And every game counts in the playoffs. Certainly the intensity of the game increases in the playoffs. And does this affect Sidney Crosby as far as the time it will take not only to rehab but kind of get used to the intensity of the game? For instance, would it take longer for them to clear him to return in the playoffs than it would, say, during the regular season?
Well, I definitely think that there's more consideration that needs to be done, especially with the kind of games that playoffs are, where there's always more of a physical sense of play. It's more dangerous, it's faster paced, it's more involving. And you look at a player like Sidney Crosby, and not only if he comes back and he's not ready would he be in physical danger, but also psychological danger from being the type of guy that he expects his teammates to rely on him, and he wants to be that presence on the ice. So I think it's definitely a big deal for him to take his time so that he's completely ready to play the game.
Absolutely, and everyone eager to see him back, and that psychological pressure you're talking about, and that's one of those parts of wearing the C on the chest is having to take the broth of being the biggest contributor on the ice. And Evgeny Malkin was back on skates for the first time to take the team pictures on Wednesday. And it was announced that he was doing really well with his rehab and, in fact, did not need surgical repair on his MCL. Of course, really great news there, but there's still no chance he will return this season. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we return, we're going to have our top contenders for the Hart Trophy. Stay tuned. Welcome back, folks. Well, it's going to be a tough decision with all the players that have put up MVP-type numbers, but it will soon be narrowed down to just one player who will win the Hart Trophy, Daniel Sedin, probably the favorite, finishing the season with 41 goals and 104 points, winning the Art Ross. Corey Perry finishing with 50 goals and 98 points, winning the Rocket Richard Trophy.